You're watching Traders Morning Setups with Dex the Algo Capitalist. Dex created his pulse wave price trigger reports over 2 decades ago, and he's been using them to ride the pulse waves as a full-time trader ever since. Find out more about Dex's reports and sign up for our next webinar to learn how to use them at pulsewavetrading.com.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's about that time, isn't it? It's time for our morning report with yours truly, Dex the Algo Capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from pulsewavetrading.com, home of the world famous pulse wave price trigger reports. All right, so let's take a look here. As you know, the CPI data came out this morning, and the market interpreted it as a bullish sign. As a result of that, the U.S. dollar index is down almost 100 pips, trading at 104.66, dropping from 105.73 in the overnight market. The euro is up 111 pips at 108.28. Pound sterling up 152 pips at 124.33, and the Aussie is up 82 pips at 64.68. Bitcoin futures down 120 at 36,795. The Ethereum futures down 37.5 points at $2,062.50. Crude oil rallying up 76 cents per barrel at $79.01 a barrel. We have nat gas off 3 cents at $3.16. Gold futures are up $15.40 an ounce, trading at $1,965.50 per ounce. Silver is up 56 cents per ounce, trading at $22.92 per ounce. We have copper at $3.70, up 3 cents. Dow futures up 387 points at 34,772. E-mini S&P 500 futures up 61.75 points at 44.87 even. NASDAQ 100 futures up 271.25 points at 15,815.75. And the Russell up 62.3 points at 1773.8. We have soybeans down 2 cents at $13.80 a bushel. Corn down 50 cents, trading at $4.76 per bushel. And we have wheat up a penny at $5.80 a bushel. All right, so what about morning setups? Well, let's go ahead and scan and see what we can find. Don't know if we'll see any, and if we did have some, they've been erased because of the CPI report. That tends to happen. Remember that 1% of the time I told you about how 2-bar Charlie setups can be reversed intraday based on whatever happens? It's about 1% of the time. Well, today was one of those percentages. If there was some, I didn't have a chance to look and see if we had any pre-announcement. All right, so right now there are no 2-bar Charlie setups to speak of. All right, so with that being said, let's go into the news, shall we? All right, so on tap for our news this morning, one bank's predicting big cuts to rates next year. Meta is winning some key battles against TikTok regarding growth, and the case for why AI can make social media less toxic. But first, long live Goldman. Did Goldman Sachs need to die to survive? The prestigious Wall Street bank has drawn plenty of bad headlines over the past few years, often focused on CEO David Solomon. But was Solomon merely evolving the bank to stay ahead of the financial world, starting to pass it by? Famed journalist Bethany McLean, who had a stint in the bank's analyst program, examined the turbulence and the role played by Solomon. And McLean, who co-authored the bestseller The Smartest Guy in the Room, The Amazing Rise and Scandalous Fall of Enron, spoke to Solomon among other top executives about the state of affairs at 200 West Street. And while Solomon has undoubtedly had some missteps, most notably in consumer banking, he's had his fair share of wins, including raising the bank share price. Still, that hasn't stopped people from viewing Goldman's bygone era with nostalgia. It is fantasy land, Solomon told McLean. But scathing media reports and unhappy partners only matter to a certain extent. The group that ultimately decides Solomon's fate, Goldman's board of directors, still supports him, according to McLean's reporting. McLean's story provides a fascinating look at not just Goldman Sachs' evolution, but Wall Street's. Private equity firms' power has swelled for years, but that process seems to have accelerated more recently. Regulations requiring banks to sit on more and more of their capital, thereby limiting the risks they can take, have essentially upended the world of finance. Banks' origin story, lending, has been loosened from their grip. Private credit has become the topic du jour on Wall Street. But the most significant risk to banks in this new version of Wall Street might be where talent is headed. Goldman COO John Waldron told McLean it's a big, big issue at the bank. All of that is to say, with so much changing on Wall Street, why wouldn't Goldman adjust accordingly? Well, a little backstory that most people are unfamiliar with, I will go ahead and share that with you at this point. You see, Wall Street knows that whatever it does, it will get a pass. And so what they do is they set aside when they're about to, engineer some type of scheme, they'll set aside funds in advance. So let's say they're doing a scheme that's going to net them $4 billion in profit. They'll set aside $100 million of that money. And guess what that money's earmarked for? Fines, fees, and penalties by the SEC, the regulators, because that's what usually happens. The regulator will say, you've been a bad, bad boy. We have to slap your wrist now. We're going to fine you $100 million. Goldman Sachs says, okay, no problem. Here's your money. Have a nice day. That money's already been set aside. So when you think that Wall Street firms are getting hurt when the SEC says, here's a whopper of a penalty, here's $1 billion fine, that's not hurting the company. They made $4 billion or $8 billion on the scheme. So having to give the SEC $1 billion, that's nothing. They already set that money aside. They always do this. They calculate the risks, they know what's going to happen, and then they set aside the funds. That's it. They just have to give the government a cut. That's not punishment. That's shaking somebody down. That's almost like loan sharking. But that's what the government does. The government says, okay, you've been naughty. Break me off a piece. That's not a punishment. Punishment is when you throw people in jail, ban people from participating in the financial markets for the rest of their lives. That's a spanking. That's punishment. Not saying break me off a piece. So basically, he's trying to say everything is legal as long as the government gets a cut. So in actuality, the government is basically a partaker of the scheme because they're benefiting financially from the scheme. Financial penalties do not curb bad behavior. All it does is says, okay, we're legalizing this behavior. It's like they've taken a page out of the one of the seasons of Gotham. Remember that scene where they made everything, all crimes legal. You just had to have a license. And that's basically that's the message that you're sending. You're saying all things are lawful if you get permission to do it first, or if you break the government off a piece later. So if you do it without permission, you got to break the government off a piece. If you do it with permission, You still got to break the government off a piece. It just be in the form of taxes. See what I'm saying? That's the corrupted world. Cuts next year. The bank predicts a sharp slowdown in economic growth in 2024. As a result, it sees the Fed cutting rates by nearly 3% starting in March. U.S. debt is back in the spotlight. Moody's Investor Service cut its outlook for the U.S. credit rating from stable to negative. Inside Man Group's AI strategy. The new head of data and machine learning at the $161 billion investment firm highlighted the capabilities his department is developing. The ultimate goal is a so called alpha assistant to which investors can pass off their grunt work. Instagram and Facebook are growing faster than TikTok for the first time in a while. Mark Zuckerberg's apps are beating TikTok on several major metrics, including daily usage and app downloads. A billionaire investor suggests that VCs could be replaced by an automated system. That dude, Chamath Palihapitiya, however you say his name, is the CEO of a VC firm, but he says that the rise of AI could lead to VCs being replaced by an automated system of capital against objectives. OpenAI recruiters are reportedly trying to lure Google AI employees with $10 million pay packages. The ChatGPT parent company has already hired dozens of former Google and Meta employees, plus is offering people top dollar thanks to a recent share sale. Now, that's not new. Corporate America has been engaging in that uh, type of soft espionage for a long time. Yeah, it's soft espionage. Hard espionage is when you send in the spy to get the goods on your competitor, your competition. But soft espionage, corporate espionage, is when you hire the employees of the company, have them come over and work for you. This was a big thing back in the early 2000s when mortgage companies would hire other mortgage company employees, especially like their processors, loan officers too, but processors, people that work in the underwriting departments. And there were occasions where they would accost you in the parking lot on your way to your car during your lunch break, smack you over the head with a briefcase full of money, and people would literally go to lunch and not come back because they're starting their new job at the company across the street, kind of thing. And I'm not making this up. I'm not being funny. This actually happened. It was happening a lot during the big mortgage boom of the early 2000s. Just some FYI information for you on that one. Chatbots just showed scientists how to make social media less toxic. Researchers built a few fake Twitters and filed them with 500 bots. Who would? Why would researchers want to build fake Twitters and fill them with 500 bots? What kind of one was an echo chamber, another showed posts liked by the greatest number of bots, regardless of their political beliefs. And the last showed posts that got the most likes from bots of the opposite political party. What in the I'm telling you, man. Is that $35 Apple Watch real? Misleading TikTok videos could be the next big headache. TikTok has struggled to keep prohibited products and knockoffs out of its marketplace. Many TikTok creators have been pitching apparent knockoffs for brands like Apple, Lululemon, and Crocs. Bright pink ads could help fix search. The steady creeping of poorly labeled ads among search results is a major problem with search engines today. A simple solution would be to require all search ads to be bright pink. In other news, Slack names longtime Salesforce executive Dennis Dresser as new CEO. Hamas militants had prepared for a second phase of terrorist attacks in Israel, report says, but the report is not saying that it's not terrorism. When someone is occupying your space and you defend yourself, that is not terrorism. The U.S. Air Force is training to take down Chinese warships, but China's military has built a wicked problem for it to overcome. Some DoorDash drivers are slamming a new feature that pressures customers to tip. Women are tuning to Facebook for a DIY approach to getting pregnant. Do it yourself. That's just code word for artificial insemination. As key deadline looms, Schoenfield employees remain in the dark about the hedge fund's future. And chart of the day, the S&P 500's earnings recession has officially ended. What's happening today? It's World Diabetes Day. The observance is meant to raise awareness of the disease and falls on the birthday of Frederick Banting, who helped reach the discovery of insulin. Happy birthday, Travis Barker, King Charles III, Una, Condoleezza Rice, and Claude Monet were also born on this day. Wow, okay. Earnings today, we got Home Depot and other companies as well. All right, folks, so that does it for this morning's pre-market. Hopefully you got something out of it. Hopefully you were entertained. Are you not entertained? And with that being said, you don't want to miss out today at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard New York time. We will be doing our Thinking Outside the Box podcast. We have been delving into some very, very murky waters and doing some deep dives down some rabbit holes that are quite slippery. So if you've been missing the daily podcast, you're going to definitely want to go over to Rumble. We do have links in the description of this video as well. And with that being said, you want to smash the like button, share the video with friends and family. You never know who may be helped or informed or encouraged by doing so. And with that being said, I will see you guys in Thinking Outside the Box happening in just a little while. Thanks for tuning in. And with that, remember, the system works if you work the system. Bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And with that being said, I'm out. Peace.